Hello and welcome to this manufacturing and technology virtual presentation, Servant Leadership, how putting people first leads to profitability. We encourage you to interact with today's speaker and each other in the Q&A chat to your right. Today's presenter is Lance Thrailkill. He's the CEO of All Metals Fabricating, which was recognized as one of this year's Best Plants winners. His full bio can be found by clicking on the speaker profile below. Lance, take it away.
Thank you very much, Laura. Appreciate the introduction. As she mentioned, I am Lance Thrailkill. I'm the CEO at All Metals Fabricating. We are a third-generation contract manufacturer, and we specialize in sheet metal fabricating, precision machining, electromechanical assemblies, and powder coating. So I'm going to be teaching on servant leadership today, something I'm very passionate about and excited to be with you guys today. So to give you a little overview of what our time's going to look like today, we're going to start. I'm just going to give you an introduction, a little history on my family and the company. And then I'm going to help define what is servant leadership, and then talk about what are the benefits of servant leadership that we've seen as a company, and then what does it look like to apply this, some practical applications for you and how we do it, and some things that you can do in your day-to-day. And then I'll give you a few resources that I've found helpful at the end, and then we'll open it for Q&A as well. So thank you for joining me today. So this is my family here, or part of my family, the company side of it. It's me in the far left, and then my cousin Will, who's been here for 18 years, and my grandfather Bill, who started the company, who's no longer works here, and then my dad Billy, who's still currently serving as our president. And so my grandfather, to give you a little bit of history on my family and the company, my grandfather Bill, so he started working in sheet metal when he was 16 years old. He actually punched off half of his index finger in a punch press when he was 17, and he received $595 from the insurance company for doing so. He actually went back to work the same day, which tells you a lot about just his drive and work ethic. And he took that insurance money and went and bought a car and married my grandmother at the age of 17. He did not complete his junior year of high school, and he just immediately started working. And he worked his butt off, worked 3 jobs to provide from a family, or his family, my family as well. And eventually, he worked in sheet metal his whole life. That was always at least one of his jobs. And he found All Metals Fabricating. The owner was looking to sell. So in 1978, he got a loan from the bank for $250,000, which is what the All Metals had done in sales that year. That's how they valued it back then. And he bought the business. And so that same year, he quadrupled their sales. And even after he had canceled their largest contract, which is the big selling point, they were making the Greyhound bus benches, and so he didn't think they were making money on it, so he canceled it and still was able to quadruple the sales in the first year. So my dad joined the team about a year later, and these two men just worked their entire lives just tirelessly as just putting others first. And I watched them. I had the privilege of watching them do so, serve me and my family, and serve all the team here at All Metals all these years. And they didn't know what servant leadership was. They never heard of it. That's just who they were and how they worked. And so I have been able to take kind of what I witnessed from them and put some buzzwords around it. Servant leadership is obviously a common term, but really help give it some context for our people here and for others, because I'm passionate about this. I've seen it work and believe and not only the profitability, but how it impacts people. And so cool little story was when Industry Week was here interviewing us and auditing us. They had asked Homer, one of our employees who's been with us for 44 years, who's actually here before we acquired the business. And she had asked Homer, why have you stayed with them all these years? And he, fighting back tears, just said, they've always taken care of me. And he went on to tell a story about when Bill first bought the business. He said that he found out, not from Bill, but from other people, that he was working 2 jobs. So not only was he working 60 hours a week and my grandmother was sleeping at the shop, he was working another job to be able to make payroll each week because they were growing so fast he couldn't keep up. So Homer was crying as he told that story, just and how much that meant to him. And the reason I start with that is it really was a building block for servant leadership, because my grandfather was sacrificing time with his family and everything else in order just to be able to make sure the employees were taken care of each week and that they had their money. So that, I feel like that really just casts kind of a big picture vision of the foundation of this idea of servant leadership. So if I told you today that you could improve your long-term profitability and sustainability, and if you ask you if you want to improve your culture and your employee retention, and not just that, but what if you would you want to increase your own personal satisfaction at work? Well, I'm here to tell you that all those things are possible if you apply these concepts of servant leadership, which I'm going to tell you about today. So what is servant leadership? The obvious explanation is it's leadership with serving others at its core. Pretty simple, but we'll kind of go through some of the other characteristics. Valuing others' needs first, so putting others' needs before your own. Sacrificing for those we lead, as I just mentioned. Bill sacrificing himself for other people. That's just one of the many ways you can do that. It's an idea of using your authority to love and serve people instead of lord it over them. It's seeking to give to people versus get from people. Not using people, but stewarding people, which I'll talk more about at the end. This idea of stewardship of people. It's caring about people above all else. It's adding value to their lives. How can you add value to the lives of those people around you? And it's leadership grounded in humility. Really, if it's not possible to do without being humble. And so what I tell people, my job as a CEO is I'm the chief servant of everybody. And so that means my job is to serve everyone by making sure they have the tools they need to be successful. So being at the top just means that I am literally below everybody, making sure they have everything that they need and are positioned well to be successful in our organization. So the CEO is a chief servant of all. A couple of quotes that I like that really sum this idea up. Bob Chapman, he is the CEO of Berry Waymiller Company. He took a $15 million manufacturing company to a $2.5 billion conglomerate. And it all started with this vision statement, or their mission statement, which is, I've tweaked here a little bit. It says, measure your success by the way you touch the lives of other people. So their mission statement is, we measure success by the way we touch the lives of others. And so as it applies to you today, you measure your success by the way that you touch the lives of others. So this idea has taken his company from 15 million to $2.5 billion. And so it's not just about making people feel warm and good at the expense of profits. It is a sustainable business model. So then another one from a great business author or leadership author is Patrick Lencioni. The best reason for someone to become a leader is to sacrifice themselves for the good of others. To sacrifice themselves for the good of others. So those two really sum this idea up of servant leadership. So what are some of the benefits of servant leadership? First one I'd say is it brings out the best in people. When you focus on serving others and providing them what they need to be successful, it brings out the best in them. It's that simple. Makes them passionate, makes them loyal. But when you focus on serving them and providing what they need, then that brings out the best because they're freed up to do their job and do it well. Job satisfaction. When people feel known and cared for, which is what servant leadership is about, when people feel known and cared for, their job satisfaction will be exponentially higher, no matter what their job is, no matter what they're doing in their day-to-day. If they feel known and cared for, then they're going to be much more satisfied in their job, which leads to improved culture, of course. If you have employees that are satisfied in their job and are being successful in what they do, then of course you're going to have a better culture. Doesn't mean you still don't have to work at it always, and you got to deal with conflict and issues well, rather than sweeping them under the rug, which is the common thing to do in most workplaces. And then retention and recruitment of top talent. So our average tenure here at All Metals is 15 years, and we have that because of the people just love being here. They love being part of our team. Anytime somebody's left, they've always tried to come back and regain their employment. Just 2 weeks ago, I had an employee decide to stay for significantly less pay than another opportunity he was being presented. And that's the second time this year that's happened, that employees have chose to stay for less money, which is really incredible when you think about that. And as far as recruitment of top talent, for us, if I need a skilled worker, which is, and for most manufacturing companies, a difficult thing to acquire, I literally just walk out on the floor, ask some people in that department, hey, do you know anybody that you'd recommend? And not one time have I not had somebody there or here applying that same day. So just, it's incredible. We've built a reputation for caring about people, and by doing so, people want to be here. So we're able to recruit the top talent in the industry. And then this also, like I talked a little bit about earlier, was increased personal satisfaction. So what do I mean by that? Well, you will feel better about yourself when you're focused on others. The secret to life and true joy is giving your life away by serving others. So the secret to life and true joy is by giving your life away to serving others. Gandhi said it by, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And then Winston Churchill, another great quote, said, we make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. So our life is made up by what we give to others. And then profitability. So this leads to profitability and more sustainable success. So our average net operating profit margin over the last 10 years is right around 10%. And that's after spending $750,000 a year on average on new equipment. That's also after strategic tax plays and after everything. That includes no add backs. So 10%, even in the midst of the Great Recession and quite a bit of ups and downs over the last decade, we've still had an average of right around 10% profit margin. So that's pretty awesome. Zig Ziglar made this quote super helpful. If you help people get what they want, they will help you get what you want. So it shouldn't be your motivation. You shouldn't be wanting to manipulate people. But if you focus on them and helping them get what they want, then most people will respond by focusing on getting you what you want. So next, what does it look like? For us, I'm going to give you some big picture ways that we put employees first. And then after that, I'll talk to you about some little things day to day that you can do. So for us, it looks like we have a 401k plan, and we take each employee's earnings, gross earnings every year. We multiply that number times 15%, and we put that into a 401k plan for them. And we've been doing that for every year for 44 years. And we've never missed a contribution. Even in 2001, we lost 50% of our sales. We still made the contribution. Great Recession, we had a loss, we still made the contribution. So really, and that's not bragging on myself, that's bragging on the people that have come before me. But that goes a long way with people. Fully covered healthcare. So we look at healthcare differently, rather than how most affects the bottom line, we look at how can we provide the best care for our employees at the best price. Another thing we do is quarterly performance bonuses. One way we put employees first is we allow them to work as much overtime as they'd like, as opposed to most companies, it's more advantageous financially to limit their overtime, hire and lay off people as workflow comes in and out. But we just allow people to work as much as they want to. And when we slow down, people don't work as much. And that has resulted in us having only 2 layoffs in over 40 years. And one of which was just some attempt to hire people that had just come on board for a big project that ended. So really one true layoff in 40 years. That's by this model of putting others first. We also do a guaranteed $1,000 Christmas bonus. We do that a few weeks before Christmas so employees can go spend that on their family. We do a big over-the-top holiday party where every kid and every grandkid gets a present that we buy for them. Santa Claus comes and hands them out. So literally even people's grandkids come to this event, and it's really special for the family. Everybody really enjoys it. Very over-the-top event. So we also provide a company chaplain to care for the employees' needs emotionally. So what that looks like is our chaplain comes out like once a month, walks around on the floor and just checks in with people, asks how they're doing. He's always available to give counsel to people. He gives everybody their his cell phone number, and he prays with them if they want prayer. He also comes out pre-COVID. He would come out quarterly and give a message to encourage people as well. So we have sports tickets to all the Dallas sports teams, and we pass those out to employees. We do an annual company hunting trip. So a lot of our employees like to hunt. We have one thing, this is not like an official position that we have, but we've had a few employees our 2 employees get cancer over the last decade. And we've continued to pay them the whole time they were hospitalized. And so that goes a long way with people. And that's when stuff hits the fan and things get bad, that's when your true colors show. And that's how you get people that are loyal to you for life. Another example, just making hospital visits. Just a few weeks ago, we had a brand new employee who'd only been here for a few weeks, get injured at home, had to go to the hospital, and Billy, found out he didn't even know the guy really, and was trying to find out where the hospital was so he could go visit him that same day. And so just showing the concern and care for people, no matter who they are, how long they've been here. Going to visit them in the hospitals goes a long way as well. We do strategic gifting with a lot of company swag. You can see I'm wearing this vest. We give out vests and sweatshirts and t-shirts to all of our people. Also, the sports tickets, you want to give people things that mean something to them. So, one thing might mean something to somebody and another person might want something else. So be strategic in the way that you give people things. And then with COVID, this was a really unique year for all of us. And when COVID hit, we gave everybody the option of taking 2 weeks paid leave. We were an essential business, so we were open. But Dallas County had a lockdown, and a lot of people were concerned about driving to and from work. And so we just said, hey, everybody that doesn't feel comfortable, you can stay home and take 2 weeks paid leave. And we gave everybody else the option to continue working and get their overtime and all that. And 90% of our employees decided to stay and work. So that is pretty unbelievable to me still. And then so we started bonusing them daily, some hazard pay, and then we called the other people that had chose to stay and let them know what we were doing financially for the people that were working. And a few people came back as well when they knew that we were offering the hazard pay. We also provided PP&E for everybody. We had lunch brought in every day so that people didn't have to go out to eat to risk exposure. We had the place sanitized every night. So all these things, like I said, when things get bad, when there's disasters that we confront, that's when your true colors show. You can try to be a servant leader here or there, but when it comes down to it, and you're faced with a difficult situation, what are you going to do? And you've got to have decided that in advance, that you're going to put people first before the bottom line. So how does that look more in the day-to-day? I know all of you can't go do all those things that I just mentioned, so I want to give you some practical takeaways as well. So the golden rule, right? Treat others how you want to be treated. Well, that doesn't really work, because how you want to be treated and how I want to be treated are probably two different things. I like public affirmation. You may hate it. They may give you, be terrible for you. You may want exact instructions on how to go do this job. Whereas for me, I want autonomy. I want you just to tell me what you want done, and I'm gonna go figure out how to do it. So everybody's different. So you can't just treat others how you want to be treated. The key is you have to know your people. You have to know what they want and need, so that you can best lead them and care for them and serve them, because everybody wants to be treated differently. So what do you have? One thing you can ask yourself is, what do you have that you can use to bless and serve others? So as I mentioned, sports tickets for us, I'd rather somebody else go experience something that they otherwise wouldn't pay for or be able to afford necessarily, some fun event with their family, than myself go, because getting to see the joy that it brings them and their family and hearing about the experience they had means a lot more to me than it does me just going. As I mentioned, also we do hunting trips. We've got a branch and a company lease. So those are things that we use to bless others. So what do you have that you can use to bless others? Next thing is help people succeed. So as leaders, this is our primary job. Our job is positioning people to be successful and providing them the tools needed to accomplish that. So positioning people to be successful and providing them the tools needed to accomplish that, help them succeed, help them grow. So we cross-train people, teach them new skills, knowing that they're now more valuable and could ask for more pay and could potentially go get another job elsewhere now that they have a new skill that commands a higher wage rate. So, I tell people, hey, if you go get a job somewhere else and leave me because I've taught you a new skill and you can now go make more money, either way, I've done my job. I've accomplished my job because I'm investing in you with the hope that you stay here. But if you don't and you have another opportunity, then that's okay. That's what it's all about. So the next one is absorb blame. This is huge. I always say own 100% of your 1%. So even if it's not directly your fault, find a way that you can take responsibility for your 1%. If it's simple as like, man, did I not give you good enough instructions? I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I should have given you better instructions. I take responsibility for this. So just absorb blame. And I'll tell you what, this is very contagious in organizations. Yeah, just this is huge. Own 100% of your 1%, and this will catch in your organization. To see it all the time. Leaders taking responsibility for actions done by their subordinates. Just a couple weeks ago, a guy in the machine shop screwed up some parts, and his shift lead took responsibility for it. And I was just like, man, I'm so proud of you. I'm watching you grow as a leader as you take ownership of responsibilities of people that are underneath you. And then also the other side of that is giving away credit. It's as simple as, when a customer emails you, thank you so much, you guys did such a great job. I'll copy the people involved. I'm like, thank you for complimenting me, but here's the real people that made this happen, not me. I'm just a guy that you're talking to. So, and then CC everybody that was part of that success and include them. So absorb the blame and give away credit always. Leaders don't inflict pain, they bear the pain. So you are taking on the pain, taking on the responsibility, and you're giving away all the credit. So some more practical examples is taking time to walk around and engage with people. So for me, this looks like passing out checks each week. Even though most people have a direct deposit, I still walk around and tell people I appreciate them. Every week I hand them their direct deposit slip and I say, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for all that you do. And I ask them how they're doing. You know, how are you doing? Anything you need? Any way I can help you? How's your family? Just engaging with people so they know that you care. And like I said earlier, you have to be humble. You cannot do these things without being humble. And one practical thing that you can do as being humble is just recently I took a survey of a few people and I started doing this quarterly of just how can I better serve you? Is there anything I can do better to serve you? Is there any way I can serve the company better? So asking for feedback on how you can better serve those around you. So some of you might be sitting here like, oh, that's great, Lance, you know, you're the CEO though. I'm not in a leadership position. Well, that's okay, because you don't have to be in a leadership position to be a leader. Something I'm very passionate about. To lead people simply means to influence people in a certain direction. So the good news is you can influence everybody around you. You already are, one way or the other. So I challenge you to influence everybody around you in the direction of the success of the organization. So you can even lead your boss. And I'm going to show you how in a few simple steps. And first step is you own the relationship. So what that means is you take responsibility for the relationship. You take ownership of it. To lead them, you must focus on best serving them and being for their success. So you might think, oh, my boss is terrible though. You, Lance, you have no idea my boss is terrible. That's okay. You can either be frustrated by that and focus on that, or you can be focused on helping make them successful, which is making the company successful, which is also making you successful. So you must be for the mission of the company and for the success of your boss, and you own that relationship. What does that mean? Also, you can adjust to their style, adjust to the way that they work, know their different nuances and how they work, and work around that, work around their schedule. So an example of that is I would always keep a list of things that I wanted to talk to my dad, Billy, about, and I would wait till I knew he had free time. And so whenever he was available, and I would just look for an opportunistic time and I'd be ready to talk to him and engage in that, rather than going in there whenever something came to top of mind. I would wait to these strategic times. So that's something you can do is know when you know your boss's schedule and work around that and look for strategic opportunities to ask them questions instead of just whenever, whenever something comes up. Another part of that is knowing their weaknesses. So you need to know where they're weak so that you can help them in their weaknesses. And that's how you serve them, is helping them in their weaknesses. You stand in the gap for where they're weak. So you have to know them and know where they're weak so that you can help them. And another part of that is giving them grace. So if you know that they're weak in that area, you can be prepared that that's how they are. And so you're going to give them grace in that. And part of that is like you can either be frustrated by it and mad all the time, which is only going to negatively impact you, or you can accept it, realize that's how they are, and help them in that. Because if you're helping them in that, you're doing your job, you're going to be successful, your boss is going to be successful, and hopefully the company is going to be successful. So the last part of it is just excelling in communication. Over communicate. Realize your boss is very busy, has tons on his plate or her plate. And so if you aren't sure what you need from them, then ask for clarity. One thing I like to use is the speaker listener technique. What that means is when somebody tells you something, you repeat it by saying, what I hear you saying is, and then repeat what you heard them say. And that way you can clarify from your boss what they want you to do so that y'all are both on the same page. Because what he says and what you heard, or what she says and what he heard, are often two different things. And so by using the speaker listener technique, you can over communicate and make sure that you're on the same page and make sure that you're leading your boss in the way that you communicate. So everybody can be a leader. It doesn't matter what your position is. You do not have to be in a leadership position to be a leader. So what do people need? All people need have a feeling to be known, to be heard, and to be cared for. The feeling of being known, heard, and cared for is the most powerful and the most empowering feeling in the world. So people want to feel known, heard, and cared for. Next thing is job security. This is the most valuable. People want to feel secure in their job. They want to know that they have a job. When they feel secure in their job, it frees them up to make decisions for the good of the company. On the other hand, when they're worried about losing their job, they're not going to want to make a decision because they're not going to want to make a mistake. And so then they're going to be coming to you, asking you all these questions, trying to get clarification, and it's just not an efficient way to work. And so people need job security, and that frees them up to do their job and do their job well. Also, that will, as I mentioned earlier, that'll be a reason people stay with you. If they know that you're going to do whatever it takes to keep them, then they're going to stay by your side. People need encouragement. So too often we only talk to people when they screw up. I'm guilty of this. I can be that way, and just naturally when errors come up and you get involved, that's when you're talking to people. And so you have to literally go out of your way to catch people doing the right thing. And when you catch them doing the right thing, then you compliment them and encourage them, applaud them. People need 5+ criticism, or 5+ encouragements for every criticism. If you tell somebody 2 things encouraging and give them 1 criticism, they're still going to take away the criticism. That's all they're going to hear. And so you need to be constantly looking for opportunities to catch people doing good and encourage them for it. Tell them, great job, I appreciate you. That should be part of your regular vocabulary. Great job. Is looking for opportunities to catch people and affirm what they're doing. People need clarity. So define the win, define what you need from them, define what the goals are for the company, and show them how they're connected to those goals. How are they connected to on-time delivery? How are they connected to profit margin, sales, all these things? Those are our KPIs, and order acceptance rate. How is their job connected to those? And so they need to be connected to the goals of the organization. They need clarity on what they need to do to win, to be successful, and then they will be. And so they also want a seat at the table. What I mean by that is they want to feel heard, as I talked a little bit about earlier. They want to know that they have access to the leaders of the company to be able to share their questions or concerns and feel heard. So leaders, be accessible to anyone and everyone in your organization. And then lastly, people want to feel appreciated. As I mentioned, this is so important. You need to intentionally use the words, I appreciate you, every day. Leaders, I beg you to use the words, I appreciate you, every day to somebody. If you do that, it will go a long ways, I can assure you. So this idea of stewarding lives I mentioned earlier, this is something the way I look at it is, these people have been entrusted to my care. And so rather than, you just have employees and you're using them to accomplish a goal, they come and go, I view it as I'm stewarding these people's lives, meaning they've been entrusted into my care, and literally their family's well-being is dependent on my ability to help them be successful at their job. So I'm stewarding these people's lives. And as you lead them, you're modeling the way for them. You're showing them what that looks like, how to be a leader, how to put other people first. And hopefully, as they go home and be with their family, then they're going to implement that as well. They're going to want to serve their family and serve their spouse and care for them in that way. You need to invest in your people. You need to give them whatever they need to be successful. If it's a certain tool, certain training, instructions, whatever, make sure people have what they need to be successful and invest in them. Part of it is giving honest feedback. This can be tough. Sometimes it's easier just to not deal with a conflict or a frustration, somebody does something wrong, but you have to give people honest feedback, and you got to coach them. You got to encourage them, not get onto them in a way of just to point out the air. Like I said, you've got to encourage them, coach them, honest feedback. And as you seek feedback from them, then they will be more willing to receive feedback as well. And just leave people better than you found them. So that's a one way of looking at stewarding people's lives, is like, are they better off after having been with you and having been with your organization. And I'll conclude with the story of, as I was saying earlier, when Industry Week came out to audit us, she met with people all day and interviewed different people. And afterwards, she came up to me and said, Lance, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've been to multiple companies every year, interviewing them, and I've never seen employees who feel so cared for and are so proud of where they work. And I teared up, and it was the most rewarding feeling I've ever felt. And that's not anything of myself. I can tell you about this because I'm not bragging. It's about the people that have come before me. I'm just following in their footsteps. And so my dad and my grandfather and the leaders of this company that have been here for so long, they're the ones that accomplished that. And I get to share that story about how awesome that is and sharing the rewards of that. And so in closing, I'll just tell you, really, there really is no other kind of leadership than servant leadership. There's no other true leadership. This is the way you lead people. And the higher up you are in your organization, the more power you have. And that's the more powerful of servant that you can be, because you have the power and you need to use it to serve people and bless people. And the secret to life is just giving your life away. If you give your life away, you will be rewarded with joy. And if you give people what they want, then they will bless you 1,000 times more. So I don't know if the benefits I've given you are enough of a reason for you to implement this, but I'd be remiss to not tell you my why. This isn't a strategy or tips for me. This is my life. I live my life to serve because of what God has done for me. Talk about the higher you are, the more power you have, and the more you can serve people. The Bible says that Jesus did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but came to earth in the form of a servant. So God came to this earth in the form of a servant. And before he went to lay down his life as a sacrifice for the world's sins, he washed his disciples' dirty, nasty feet. Guys that traveled around in sandals, miles and miles, he washed their feet. And he taught them, as I've done to you, go and do to others. So no matter what you believe, Jesus was the greatest leader of all time. He took 12 no-name guys and started the biggest movement the world's ever seen. And so we can all learn from his leadership, no matter what we believe about him. And so I challenge you to find your why, whatever it is, whether it's these benefits or no matter what your faith. I assure you that if you implement being a servant leader and you focus your life on serving others, then it will pay dividends in every facet of your life. So thank you very much for listening. Enjoyed this time. I also wanted to share a few resources for you, as I mentioned earlier. Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. Everybody Matters. I referenced that in the presentation. Bob Chapman, one of my favorite books ever. Really, really good. It's also manufacturing focused. Dare to Serve, The Motive by Patrick Lencioni, and Servant Leadership by Robert Greenleaf. Those are all great books that, as you embark on your servant leadership journey, can be a great resource to you. So now I'll take some time for questions if anybody has any. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Lance, for that amazing talk. And it sounds like just a remarkable culture, lots for people to learn there. Yeah, we'll now begin the Q&A portion of the session. And viewers out there, if you haven't submitted your questions already, go ahead and submit. Thanks.